Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick over here at Project Central, and today we're talking about my top 10 recommendations for that advanced driveway mechanic from Harbor Freight. Maybe you're like me and you watch way too much Roadkill and Cletus McFarlane and you think I should put a turbo on everything. Maybe you're constantly searching Marketplace looking for crappy project cars to dump an obscene amount of money into. Can confirm. So here are my 10 recommendations, plus a bonus tip at the end for you. Alright, in no particular order, but first up is going to be air tools. A decently mid-sized air compressor, 20 to 30 gallons, right? You can do a lot with that. I know a lot of people have switched to all electric tools, and we'll talk about that later on. But having decent air tools can really increase productivity, I think. Not having to worry about dying batteries and just the sheer volume of air tools that they have at the Harbor Freight store. There's practically a whole aisle of air automotive tools. So whether you're doing heavy suspension work, you need like a 3/4 inch impact with a bazillion foot-pounds of torque, or you're doing like auto body work, you need a little detail sander. Everything in between, they've got it there, and you can all run off the same compressor. And a lot of times, some of those tools are pretty affordable. I know the little cheap paint gun, usually you can get that on sale for like $10 for spraying panels and stuff. I've had one of the Harbor Freight impact wrenches for a long time. It has served me well for very many years, and every once in a while, even though I've switched to a bunch of electric tools, I still will bust that thing out if I'm doing a lot of like real heavy suspension work, because it just has a ton of power, and it's worked well for a long time. If you're doing a lot of mechanic work, eventually you're going to have a rusty, crusty bolt snap off in a frame or a bracket or something. But my favorite way to do it, especially if it's like in a frame, is you take a nut, you weld it on, it gets everything nice and hot, and you just spin that bad boy right out. So the number 2 suggestion for the advanced driveway mechanic is going to be a welder. A small stick welder, a decent MIG welder. This is going to not only allow you to remove, broken bolts and stuff, or a stud that you can't remove. Being able to remove that stuff is great, but it also opens up a whole nother world of fabrication for making your own brackets, making your own like suspension tabs, anything like that. Axle swaps, engine swaps. Definitely consider that. And Harbor Freight has some great welders. They've really stepped their game up. Okay, by this point, you got a ton of tools. Like a lot of tools. Like a lot of tools, right? Like you've never met a tool you didn't like. Ask me how I know. So we're going to need a bigger box. Harbor Freight has kind of made a name for themselves on their U.S. General boxes. They're good, especially for like home, prosumer level / advanced DIYers like us. We collect tools. Collect a lot of them. I've had this Harbor Freight top and bottom 44-inch box. It's a Series 1. I've had it for probably 12 years now. I need some more stickers on it because I kind of ran out of stickers. But yeah, it does great. It holds all the tools I need. Hand tools, mechanics tools. I don't have any power tools in that. They're separate. But yeah, it does a great job. I've really got my eyes on that 56-inch box with that hutch on top. Ooh, yeah, I've got my eyes on that one. Maybe someday though. But for now, I'm gonna keep using this 44-inch box because it has served me well for so long. And there's tons of options now. They've got the icon boxes, which are super nice, and those would literally probably last a lifetime. But just their basic U.S. General boxes, they've got so many modular accessories for those. They've got the side lockers, they've got the side cabinets, they've got all the other accessories that you could magnet onto them. They're really cool. So check those out if you are overflowing with tools, because I've really enjoyed my set. All right, so we've talked about, you know, your basic sockets and wrenches and stuff, and your other videos. You've talked about more advanced, more specialty hand tools, but I'm going to call out one tool specifically that we should invest in as advanced mechanics, and that is going to be a set of torque wrenches. Recently, I put some valve train back together in my Jeep, and I use this Pittsburgh 3/8 Pro. You know, those are all the valve train components are set at 20 foot-pounds. Well, if you're doing stuff like engine work or differential work or anything, you know, like transmission work, anything that's like a critical part of your engine or driveline or vehicle that you don't want to break down at the worst time, we need to take a little bit extra care. And even if we're doing it in the driveway, doesn't mean we have to be sloppy, right? So yeah, consider investing in a set of torque wrenches. Like I said, I've got the old click style torque wrenches, but I know that those Icon ones also have a really good review, also some of the fancier ones. All right, at the start of this video, we talked about how good air tools are, and they are. I will stand behind that statement for forever. But caveat, electric tools have really had their comeuppance, right? They've done really good. I mean, Harbor Freight has an entire two bay selection of everything from their Mondo crazy mega 1500 foot-pounds of torque battery tools all the way down to their 12 volt cordless ratchets, and they've all got their purpose. These are great options for especially if you're going out, you don't want to fire up the air compressor, wait for it to charge, drag a hose out. If you're just going out and doing a couple things like changing a tire or pulling a transmission or pulling suspension components off, an electric impact, they are revolutionary technology in my opinion. They have really made it awesome for us driveway guys. Not only can you do it, it's easy at your house, but if you go to the junkyard, you've got battery tools now. And a lot of times they used to not let you take anything. Having battery tools to take to the junkyard to pull parts, awesome. Love it. All right, next one may be a little bit of an oddball tip, but I use it every once in a while when I'm doing some projects, and that is going to be a rivet gun and or a riv nut gun. So rivets are awesome because if you're trying to attach something like a blind rivet, you drill a hole through two pieces, stick that rivet in there, hit that gun, and poof, they are attached. You don't have to get to the back side, and if you've got a panel that you need to be removable but you can't get to the back side if you can't reach around to put the nut and bolt together, a riv nut is really cool. So basically how it works is you have threaded inserts that you drill a hole, you put it in, and you smush them like a rivet, but the inside has threads. Most commonly I use the 1/4x20. That's a good size, and you can buy those fasteners really cheap. So like here on the side of my Jeep, I riv nutted all these on so that this panel, if I ever need to, I can remove this piece of rear quarter panel armor, and it it's pretty cool. Right, so yeah, if you want to do something a little bit more trick, some removable panels or some fixed panels with rivets, invest in those. A couple of the products that I think Harbor Freight is actually really known for and has made a great name for themselves in the automotive world is going to be their cherry pickers and engine stands. The folding cherry picker has become a staple in a lot of shops, right? Even if you're not doing engine work, it's great for picking up heavy axles, picking up chunks of metal or like an anvil or whatever, picking stuff up, moving it around. And the engine stands, I've seen people make rolling tubing bender stations with those engine stands. Pretty sweet. If you're pulling an engine, rebuilding an engine, whatever you're doing, stuff like that, these cherry pickers, these fold up ones are really cool. And the engine stands, I've used the engine stand. My engine stand, I've used it before when we rebuilt one of my Jeep motor in my Jeep, and worked great. And now they have these super cool gear driven ones that you can bolt your engine on, and it's got a gear you can turn in the back to rotate it, so you don't have to manually rotate it and try and flip it over. So very cool, very trick, and definitely check those out. All right, earlier in this video we talked about tool organization, right? We talked about toolboxes. This section is going to be more about parts organization. Parts and leftovers, and probably some consumable organization. Eventually, you're going to get leftover nuts and bolts that you're going to want to save because you're going to use them. Obviously, you're going to use the bucket of leftover bolts from 17 years ago. You're going to save those, and you're going to use them on something. Why would you throw them away? The factory spent millions of dollars designing these cars. We should save the bits and bobs. But you got to be able to find that stuff. We've all got that miscellaneous bucket of bolts that every once in a while we dump it out and pick through it and find stuff. But you're like extra spark plugs, extra fuel hose clamps, all of those things that are kind of leftovers or miscellaneous or stuff you might use every once in a while. You got to figure out a way to organize that stuff, because you will eventually need it and not be able to find it, and it's just going to cost you more money in the long run to go to stop what you're doing, go to the store, get what you need, and come back. It's an hour for me to go to the hardware store every time. By the time I stop, push some stuff back in the garage, close it up, it's an hour. So yeah, having some stuff on hand that's organized can be a great time saver. A lot of times when we're working on old, rusty, crusty junk, there can be years or decades worth of grime and dirt and oil buildup that we need to remove so we can work on the car. Or maybe you're putting like an engine back together and you just need everything to be clean so that when you put it back together, it's not going to blow up on you. Whatever the case, we always seem to be needing to clean parts, and for this we've got a few different options. We've got the most basic would be some brake clean in a wire brush, or brake clean in some sort of brush. Next up, we've got like a parts cleaner. I've got an old red one. They're gray now for some reason. They changed the color, but these are cool because you can put all your solvents in there, and then it's got a little pump that you can spray and scrub. They do pretty good. There's also some vibratory tumblers, right, for like nuts and bolts. You can throw it in there with some media and it'll clean those up as well. But my favorite that I found so far is the ultrasonic cleaner. These things are like magic. I don't understand how they work. I know that there's some sort of ultrasonic frequency that explodes the water next to a surface, and it'll remove all the dirt and grime and stuff. I've done diesel injectors. I've cleaned diesel injectors, and they work amazing for that. And I've also recently cleaned all my valve train parts I talked about earlier, putting back together my Jeep. And it's like magic. I don't know how it works, but it works so well. So consider picking up, whichever parts cleaner system you like, or all of them like I did. All right, last up, this one feels kind of like a cop-out making this list, but there's just a lot of different interests in the automotive world, auto sports world, let's say. You may be a Jeeper like me, so you may be interested in the Harbor Freight winches and off-road lights and recovery gear. That's awesome. They've got a great selection of that. Maybe you're into motorcycles. They've got stuff. They've got motorcycle lifts, motorcycle wheel chocks, stuff like that. Maybe you're into detailing. They've got a whole product line of buffers and polishers and detail-oriented stuff. Even we talked about creepers in the last list. They've got detail-specific creepers, where like a little padded seat you can roll around and keep all your detail stuff in front of you. So whatever you're into, I believe Harbor Freight probably has some pretty cool products that you should check out. All right, time for a bonus tip, and that is going to be consider getting the Harbor Freight credit card. And as always, be strategic about this. You get 10% off your first purchase, so if you're able to wait for a good sale on, say, a big toolbox, then you can use that Harbor Freight credit card to also get an additional 10% off of the sale price. And that can be a ton of money, especially on some of the big purchases that are over $1,000, right? A top and bottom box and some tools, easy $1,000. So consider that Harbor Freight card. And also, after the first sale, you can always choose 0% interest or 5% cash back. So if you're buying a lot of stuff at the store, like I do, or you're like maybe running a small mechanic shop, it'll pay for itself in the long run, for sure. And that 0% interest is way better than the 18 to 20% interest that a lot of other cards charge. So anyways, hopefully that saves you some money. I appreciate you all for watching. Let me know what you think of this list down in the comments, and I'll have another video here that goes somewhere. I don't know what it's going to be. And a subscribe button, I think. Maybe they're switched. Who knows? But I appreciate you all. And do what you always do. Take care of one another. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.